Okay, digital mirror source. And you look at it, and it's just like, all right, nothing there. So it projects out as if what you were seeing is there, extrapolated by time and space, and then there's different overlays, pretty much to give you different effects. Different blueprint. This one's a yellow one, and that one's to talk about other things, and then this one's something else. And so what we're seeing here is layered by that many blueprints, and it's also existing actually two-dimensionally on the surface there, as maybe it's a disc or something, or a kaleidoscope, or a dimensional thing, a holographic disc. But all the information we're seeing here, the space and the time, is filler. It calculated out algorithmically by this device, this machine, with the feedback with your actual consciousness. The array, the organization, the starting point, it comes from the the fillers and the layering, the overlays, the lenses, if you will. But then the actual information is taking place. It's not like if you were to look there's nothing here. It's happening on the surface, if you will. And so it's not two-dimensional, but it's the same difference between three-dimensional and two-dimensional as what we consider here to be three-dimensional and what would be considered a five-dimensional system here, or a four-dimensional system, where you have connected time spaces into one system, which just means that all these possibilities actually come from one set of potentials, meaning it's a unique piece of information that contains the differences between all the potentials of the experiences and each event in a time space given a particular progenitor whose mind is basically being used through a dimensional lensing system, DNA, to extrapolate out possibilities and potentials based upon the creation, which is from something else, which is from the source. And so then it can only come based upon what information is transferred and generated here, and from there it can only come out the same. So it's like a tree. It's like a fractal tree, if you will. And but it's not fractal, it's free. Fractal is if it was stuck and limited. And it's also because it's not even happening in the projection sense, it's just 1 to 1. And the tree itself is part of the illusion. That's the whole point. It all comes back to 1. And so then we have this like dimensional lensing system where you could keep drawing that around, and it's like a circle, and you have pretty much everyone that's here simultaneously bouncing back and forth between a phasing system, building themselves as the viewer of all that is versus the one experiencing it within. You can't have this if you don't first have that, and if you have this, you can always remake that, if you will, or you can always have, it doesn't make sense, but because this is outside of time, so there is no, that's not phasing, this is phasing dependent on, I don't know, it's not really phasing either, but it just looks like it is. And so then, nice drawings, that's a nice one. Should sell these to homeless people for farts. And so another way to look at it is that there's a membrane. No one knows why. No one knows what. No one knows how. That was nasty. I got spit in my throat. No one knows how. But this membrane permeates all of time. Funny, right? And so the idea is this is literally just what you get when there's a civilization source all the way out there, and civilization source all the way out there. And the lensing of time to create this membrane, this distortion between them, which is required to keep this going that way and this going that way, and the two are self-sustaining in that they sustain one another. They're complementary. Meaning this is like a Terminator line of the dimensions, like I was saying before, but it's also it's I can't think of a reflection system, if you will. There's a fulcrum, and the information inverts and it transits into like an inversion, and then this is the anti, if you will, equation or fundamental physical interaction for every event in time on one side. And so you could say, if not two people, but two giant, sources of information reflecting back and forth. And it's phasing because each side, like right now, I didn't mean to do that, but it'll work, is over there like, yo, I know what this is happening. And while that's happening, the reflection is doing the opposite. And so then and then this is, whatever angle and system, like something weird, and that would be, I guess, like that or something. And so then once they switch, this number thing or line curve pattern stays the same, and then the inversion is experienced, and it gives you the same effect. You're like, yeah, I'm doing this is happening, and then the dimensional mirror, if you will, the shadow, is doing the opposite and kind of looking that way. They're both the same system or the same information, and the mind is the polarity of it is found or is achieved by having this it's basically when you have this fluid that we're in, a space fluid. Where is this going to work? Getting a little crazy with the stuff. Alright, we'll just narrow it down. Oops. Whoa. Should just do an oval like everybody else. And so, well, of course I do it. So it's worse before it even starts. All right. And then that doesn't even fit what's going on. But basically that's how it is. The phasing occurs because within this system, which is what everything is in, when there's enough distance between the two polarities, eventually you could say the light to receive this one will fade out into another spectrum. It's like having the universe where it's one big cheesy warp space thing that's all interconnected. And so then it changes in frequency and inverts because more or less you end up, any whole system, you end up with a kind of self-referential quality or a symmetry, and one side mirrors the other. You always have this kind of gender difference. And the idea is that it's because there's a different length on one than the other, and there's a different time phasing and so on. But you could see that instead of a machine switching or those gravity things or whatever, or the thing and all that, that this is just wobbling back and forth, and one way it appears to be that way, and then in the other way this one appears to be longer. And all somebody's doing is taking this thing going that way and this thing going that way and twisting it like it's on a stick or something, and the other hands are up around it like that, and it's just what do you become more like that in their fingertips, and it's spinning, and it's giving an oscillation of value. Now again, this means the universe is balanced. The whole idea of taking this and making it suit somebody in their own personal will is to excuse their actions under the action of the universe, which is a big scapegoat. And so, but time is then bent when the phasing goes, but that's because time is the distance between both of these connecting to a central eye, if you will. And then the space is the projection between the two seeing into this bend, which is just like ripple because there's so much distance between them. Now the gases, whatever you want to call it, it has the space itself. It has room to ripple, and so then you get a distorted lens depending on how far out you are. Or if people don't realize they're this far out and they flip out because they see this shimmering mirage and they don't understand it, it's just going to be as much more confusing as is the distance between the two. Because it's like then following the mirage, be like, all right, it's zombies. We got to build a zombie armory thing or something like that. And then another ripple goes by and it's, it's big feet. We got to like make big feet turrets or something. And then another ripple goes by and it's like, oh, they're crab beings that are going to swim in on the shore. We got to put like turrets on the shore. None of that will work because it's information that by the time it gets here, it's just emotions and trends and patterns in the universe and basically kind of like astronomical distance in space-time. All right, I just did some scribbles.